Bernard de Ventador, you can see his dates, 1130 to 1200, so exactly contemporaneous with Eleanor. Bernard de Ventador was the greatest of the troubadour poets, the courtly love poets in the first century. There are many people later who follow him, but in the great 100-year period of the first century of courtly love, Bernard de Ventador is the greatest poet, and we have a very large number of his poems that have survived, and we know quite a bit about him, and the musical notations that he produced for his poems have survived, so we can hear one tonight. We can hear what it sounded like when it was played. So there are many things about him that make him unique. Ventador was a castle on a rocky mountaintop, and that castle is still there. You can visit it. It was just slightly east of Eleanor's territory near Limoges, and then just a little into the hills. And so he came from a feudal environment. His family wasn't rich or part of the, aristocracy. His parents were worker people. They think maybe a baker or a candlestick maker. But he was skilled, he was handsome, he was tall and sexy, and a great poet. And so he left the chateau and began traveling and met Eleanor in Poitiers and began to create poetry for her. So his most famous poem, the most famous poem to come out of the courtly love literature is this one, When I See the Skylark Winging. That's the first line of it in the Provençal, Quand veille la Lozette mauvais. And you'll hear the singer singing that opening in the Provençal French. So let us read it here together, and as we do, you will immediately pick out exactly the themes that we just discussed. They're all present here. That's why it's such a great poem. It's such a great summary poem of all the themes in the courtly love movement. Let me just say again, court, the court of the king and the queen, or the court of the duke and the duchess, the court where they hold court, is the word that gives us this courtly love poetry. Courtly love poetry. So it's the poetry sung in the court, and it was sung publicly in the court. The duchess might sit on a throne, and her poet would sing to her, and all the people would come and sit and listen. Usually he would sing a poem about her. He'd sing how beautiful she was, how wonderful she was, and how he'd love to take her to bed. And then the duke would fly into the room and say, "Get out of here. Hit the road, Jack." So here is the poem. When I see the skylark winging joyfully toward the sun, how her heart filled with tender feelings, she freely, easily glides. I overflow with envy for all those who are joyous. How I marvel that my heart does not just burst with longing. Now there's courtly love suffering, courtly love longing, courtly love pain and suffering, and the poetic image of the first stanza is this wonderful bird, this wonderful skylark, and the skylark's so happy and so carefree and so zippity-doo-dah, just flying off and has nothing to worry about, and he sits there and he's just overflowing with envy of that lovely bird because she's so happy and she just flies around. So that's the beginning. So when I see the skylark winging, that's the title of the poem, and there you see it in the Provençal. So when I see the skylark winging. First stanza. Second stanza. Alas, I who thought I knew love, barely do I know love at all. Now, listen to that summary sentence. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. That just sums up the whole movement. I thought I knew what love was, but then I fell in love, and then I lost my love, and now I know what love really is. I never knew before. It's all the poems are full of this. I never knew really what love was. I never experienced it because I had to experience losing it to understand how great it was. Get it? Everybody get it? You lose it, and then all of a sudden you know what it is. So that's another thing. So barely did I know love at all, for I cannot keep from loving one whose gifts I'll never share. She has stolen from me myself. Double emphasize that line. Underline it. Put asterisk around it. Use colored pen and circle it, because on your copy at home, that's the thing you want to remember. She has stolen from me myself. In other words, in this experience of love, in this experience of being loved, you lost yourself to her. She has you, she's got you, and she's gone off, and she'll have you forever, and you can't get yourself back. So there's a key idea. She has stolen from me myself. And imagine all the modern psychiatrists who would love that line, and the Freuds and the Jungs and the Jungians and all the anti-Jungians. It's all right there. Yourself. She's stolen yourself. My heart and my world. So she has me, she has my heart, and she has my world. And when she struck me thus, she left me only my longing and my desire. So there you are. I thought I knew what was love, and I never knew before, and no longer was I my own master. No longer am I my own master, nor from that time ever free, since she granted me a glance. So from the moment she glanced at me and gave me that joy, I have never been again free. I'm tied to her. Listen, look at this wonderful imagery here. It's so brilliant. No longer was I my own master, nor from that time ever free, since she granted me a glance from her eyes that mirrored joy. So she looked at me through her eyes, and it mirrored my joy. In other words, her eyes are actually seeing. My joy is being mirrored in her eyes. And then he throws in the word glass. It's almost like a 20th century poem, where you just put in that word glass to give you the idea of reflection. Since I saw my reflection. Get it? Look at that beautiful thing. Her eyes glanced at me and gave me joy, and in her eyes my joy was mirrored in her eyes, in the reflection that reflected in her eyes, and beyond that I experienced my deep sighs, which are leaving me dying, because I know I've lost myself to her. Isn't that great? Yeah, I've lost myself to her. And then he throws in a nice little classical allusion here, like Narcissus, you see. Little Narcissus, he looks into the pond and he loves the thing he sees so much he falls into the pond. So it's a very sweet little line in the poem, because it shows you these Frenchmen, they want to have a little classical stuff. Toss it in there, little classical stuff. It's like the name of the city that he goes to visit in the county of Champagne, which is the city of Troyes, T-R-O-Y-E-S, which they all thought meant Troy. See, all these people in France in 1150, Bernard and everybody else thought that the capital of the county of Champagne was Troy. That is, it was brought there by Paris, all the way from the Trojan War. Yeah, they all thought that. Yeah, Paris had brought it. He'd come, on a trip, one of his trips. Had just ended up there in France. Just it's a long way, but for some reason he just went down the street to the store to buy something. He ended up in France, and they named the city Troy, T-R-O-Y. Now that wasn't really the reason. But people in the 12th century loved the idea that it was classical, that it was actually named after Troy. And so here he throws in a little Narcissus just to be Greek, just a little Narcissus. It's wonderful. I've lost myself just like fair Narcissus. So, one more stanza. Women, bring me to despair. Now, I see a lot of gentlemen nodding in this room. A lot of heads are nodding. Women bring me to despair. Never more will I trust them, as much as I used to adore them, nor will I abhor them. So, we can't live with them and we can't live without them. Nor will I abhor them, for no one will ever save me from her who confounds me and slays me. All women fill me with doubt and with fear, for well I know that thus they are. here's another great theme of courtly love. Women are complicated. Women are difficult. Women, you can't figure them out. And we love them, and we're down on our knees, and we're singing these songs for them, but we can't figure them out. And that's another major theme in the poem. In this, my lady proves to be true woman. So I tell this tale. She does not wish what she should want, nor does what is forbidden her. I have fallen into disfavor. This is his condition. He's lost his lady. I have fallen into disfavor. This was true. Bernard de Ventador did fall into disfavor with the lady that he loved and had to leave. She does not wish what she should want, which he means is me, see, and does what is forbidden her. I have fallen into disfavor. I have behaved like a fool on a bridge. Now, you're all wondering, what's that? What's that? That is Lancelot. That is the knight in the cart. That is an allusion to Chrétien de Troyes' most famous novel called Lancelot. And the opening scene is a very famous scene about Lancelot and a bridge and a cart. And it all has to do with his service to the lady and everything. And it was a very, and he could throw that into the poem and everybody knew what he was talking about. I behaved like a fool on a bridge. And I know not why this befell me. But a great final line, great final line, key line in courtly love poetry, and that is, perhaps the prize was too lofty. In other words, you've gone too high. You've tried to reach too high. You've gone beyond your station. Here's this whole feudal society that lives in, and here within this feudal society, he's saying to us, maybe I went too far. Maybe I reached too high. Maybe I tried to go too far. So that's all exactly what this is about. That is the motivation of courtly love, the power of courtly love, and the way it drives us to pursue these goals that cause us to be greater than we would be without those goals, but that we don't always get, we don't always achieve. And now, here is our recording. This is it. Now, what's so wonderful about it is that's his music. That's written down and it survived. His manuscripts that would come from the 1200s, his manuscripts, his text, and his music survive. So they can recreate it here in 2015. Isn't that great? Well, the title of the poem, convey, whatever that first line is in French. What does it say? It said skylark singing. Yeah. When I see the skylark winging. That's the title. When I see the skylark winging. I always make it singing and I'm wrong. It's winging. When I see the skylark winging. Quand va la lausette mauvais.